so excited that you came out to LA to visit. I'm sorry that you're not getting very good weather. We're not really showing off for you, but I'm so excited to welcome Erin to the show. I got connected to you online and I immediately read the blurb about what you were doing, and it didn't really take much for me to be like, I need to talk to this woman. Like, I just think that our world is moving so fast and it's hard to like slow down and really be mindful, and then in that be like conscious parents. So I was so excited to sit down and slow down and take the time to chat with you today. So why don't we start by, I don't know, how you got started in this whole world? I mean, I know, you know, obviously in social, like you have a way of doing things. And I know for you, like we were talking before, you just want to share it organically. And it's not necessarily trying to like push or teach, but it's just organically. But it's just so curious, like how you got started and a little bit about you.
Of course. Yeah. So I feel like I started all of this because I realized that like I just wanted to feel comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
And I felt like after everything I had done, like I feel like as women, we have these like checklists that we go through. We think, okay, I'm going to do the education. I'm going to do more education. I'll get the job. I'll make the money. I'll have the husband and the kids. And I felt like after all of that, how is it that I'm still not like comfortable in my own skin, let alone the fact that my background is in counseling. You know, I went to Columbia and I'm like, okay, it's the best school. This is definitely going to make me feel like I'm going to be good enough and I can handle motherhood. It didn't. And so I was just like, what is going on? Like, how could it be that I'm still not confident? And so I'll just like never forget this one moment. I was in my living room. My son was just like a little baby. I feel like he was under 2. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, what am I waiting for to feel like I can trust myself and that I'm good enough? And it was then when I'm like, you know what? I think I've been living, not a lie, but living someone else's
life.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, well, why is it that all these achievements, which are great, like I feel so good about it. And, you know, people will be like, you're doing so well, Erin. Oh, we're so proud of you. But it like never hit.
It was like it was all on paper.
Yeah.
It was like it was just checking off boxes, but not really actually accomplishing anything for like your soul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I wasn't proud. But so anyway, I just felt like, oh my gosh, like I need to figure this out. Like, and so I took my background in counseling and then I found conscious parenting and all of that together, studying it and like loving it. I still was like, I just want to live an authentic motherhood.
Right.
Like, I just want to be so comfortable in my own skin that there's no other way to be, and that's what my kids learn how to do. And so I just started making videos online about what I've learned, and I was like condensing it in smaller and smaller pieces, and I was just like, okay, this is what we need as moms. Like, we need tiny little things we can do every day to connect to ourselves, to realize the good we're already doing, because there's so much more that we're doing right than wrong.
Completely.
But the world kind of tells us, well, you need this, you need that, do more of this. And then we're just like on a little hamster wheel.
Completely. So when you were in this moment having a 2-year-old child, do you remember like those specific key like triggers for you that were, you know, where you were questioning yourself most that really like led you to gotta hit this rock bottom phase?
Yeah, I think it was just the fact that I just never knew what the right thing to do was. And
or you didn't feel like you knew the right thing. Like you, even though you did, you just weren't accessing it from within.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was like, yes, we actually do know what to do. It's just all the outside noise that's constantly saying, well, do it this way. Be this type of parent. You shouldn't say that now. And the more I worked with moms and had clients, it was the same thing. It was almost like we've learned to not trust ourselves. And so rather than adding more, right? Buy this course, buy this book, like, you know, take this monk retreat and then you'll feel great. It wasn't that. It was actually like removing stuff, like chipping away at it. And that's when I started to feel like free. And I felt so much more authentically me. And that's what I'm like, I need to start sharing this and blending all the stuff that I've learned together into one for moms that like are like me. that aren't,
Completely.
one way or the other.
Completely. I so feel that because I mean, I have a 7-year-old now, and I feel like when people get pregnant, I never really want to give advice, but I always just say, like, to try to really connect with your gut and not crowdsource too much, because the crowdsourcing and
Mm-hmm.
all the information that's out there and all the opinions can sometimes really like quiet down your gut feeling. And then you're left confused, not knowing the right thing to do, and you can't connect to your gut. So I'm like, find those special people, whether it's like that one doctor and that one friend that you trust that you turn to. But what were some of the key things for you at the beginning that really helped you tune into yourself and find your voice?
I feel like it was, and here's the thing, like sometimes people say like, what kind of mother are you?
Yeah.
And I'm me,
Yeah, that's
right?
such a hard thing you can't put that into
And
words.
shouldn't it be that way? Like, why would we want to be someone different than we are?
Right.
Because I don't know about your son, but my kids, they're like the airport security dogs that sniff out stuff that's not good. Like, they know when I'm not being myself. They'll call me out.
Hmm.
And I love that because they're so true. Like, our kids are the most like authentic, connected. They're just so themselves.
They have no filter. Someone was telling me this
Yes.
the other day. Like, kids are able to freely express their feelings because they haven't been taught these things by the outside world that like force them to suppress them like we do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they can totally be like mirrors to what we really want to do with our emotions.
Exactly. And I felt like, wow, okay, if I can start to be more me, I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to keep trying to be anything else other than that. And
Right.
so, wait, what was your question?
It was
I like
just
went
more
off on
like,
a tangent.
what were the practices that you feel like have most helped you connect to your voice and connect to your gut instinct?
So I think the beginning of it for me was just like understanding that I had feelings. Like, I know
Yeah.
that sounds so silly. Like, of course we have feelings, but I think I spent so much of my life just living for everyone else and just
Yeah.
sort of like, again, checking off the boxes, like doing what was right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing for me was learning that a no to someone else is a yes to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that was huge. And not that
Mhm.
I'm just running around saying no to everybody. Like, no, 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 no. But that I was choosing me and doing what was right for me instead of doing the right thing that I was taught. And so the
Right.
more I could just choose what really worked for me, the more I felt like I was showing up like myself. It was just like these tiny little things of choosing myself
Mhm.
that then made me feel more like myself. And
Mhm.
I think that's like the biggest lesson for me is that it's not about big drastic changes. It's
Right.
like these tiny little things we do every day that like compound and build up, and then that's us.
Completely.
Instead of trying to like, I don't know, change everything, throw out all the screens, get rid of all the candy, and it's like, how about just like one little thing? Because that's what works for me at least. Like,
Totally. I think it can be so overwhelming. It's the same thing with obviously diet culture and anything that's so
exactly,
extreme. Like when you
exactly.
put something that extreme on someone, their ability to commit to it is not very high. So it has to be like little things. And I'm the same as you. Like I'm not someone, and I'm not assuming that you're like this, but like regimented or like the greatest with consistency. So for me, if I want to make changes, like I do need to do little things consistently that aren't too much responsibility for me,
Mhm.
where I'm like going to constantly be disappointing myself. But I think the big thing you were saying about like also feeling our feelings is okay, and
I
that there's
know.
like two versions of ourselves is so major, like connecting to
Right.
the inner kid version of ourselves that has these feelings and that it's okay, we're humans, but then realizing how to process it as an adult. Like, ugh, why haven't we always been able to process things like this? I feel like it's
Yeah.
just getting me to 40 to be
I
able
know.
to learn these
I know.
things,
I know.
but it takes experience obviously to get there. So from a parenting perspective, like how does this play a part in terms of just conscious parenting, which is I know is a broad thing,
Mhm.
but also in terms of discipline?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, so I feel like it starts with me because like if I mess up, like if I yell at my kids and I'm
Yeah.
like really frustrated, I believe in like I mean I made this word up, but I call it appropriate honesty with my kids. Like I like to say, one, that was really annoying what you did.
Uh-huh.
Like
You'll say that.
because it is like, or
Yeah.
that really hurt my feelings, or like that was mean. I own what it is that they did. And I also say, and it hurt me, like that's my feeling. But then the appropriate part is that I'm taking accountability for my actions.
Right.
So I'm not saying, well, you did that and that's why I yelled. I'm saying you did that hurt me, but I also don't like how I handled it. And I think when we can be more aware of our own selves, then we can also help our children do the same. I mean, they're watching us
Completely.
basically. Like, people say, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't work,
No.
right? I mean, like that. I don't understand it. My daughter the other day said something to me like, well, I'm not allowed to say a bad word. How come dad can say a bad word? I'm like, great question.
Completely.
Absolutely. I'm like,
well, she's not wrong.
Right. I mean, I love it. I love when they say those things. And I'm like, yeah, okay, it's true. I'm like, and those words are for adults, but like, should he say that? Probably not, but he does. So it's little things like that. But I think the idea of conscious parenting really is just that you're just more aware of your own stuff.
Right.
Like my definition of conscious parenting is figuring out your own stuff so it doesn't become your kid's stuff.
Completely.
And easier said than done.
Completely.
But I think it's a process.
Yeah.
And I think it's so freeing to just be like, I don't know, it's so freeing to take accountability for yourself in a way that isn't self-sabotaging and like beating yourself up in mom guilt. It's really just saying like, I don't like how I handled that. I'm sorry for yelling and like, let's try this again. Or we need to have a conversation because I've asked you to put your shoes on 10 times and you haven't. And clearly I'm frustrated. So let's talk and let's figure it out.
Yeah.
It's just like a more real like approach instead of following a script or like blowing up. It's like, why don't we just treat our kids more like you'd want to be spoken to by your spouse or a friend.
Completely. But I think that's so important that taking care of ourselves is really step one in terms of being like the best parent that we can be for our kids. Like regardless of what that means in terms of parenting, I just mean like real self-care and taking care of our own shit and like doing some real hardcore reflection and being accountable. I feel like so many adults have such a hard time with accountability. And I feel like it is so freeing, like you said. It is so freeing to say, I messed up and can we try this again? Because like, I don't know, it just immediately opens up this line of communication with the other person of comfort. And I wonder why people are so resistant to it. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think about, maybe our parents' generation, and this is not a knock at any other generation. It's just the way things are done, right? We always, I think that's the beautiful thing about every time we have a new generation, they're trying to better. And
we evolve. We hope.
We hope. We try.
Yeah.
We try.
Trying.
We're trying to evolve. And I think our generation is a little obsessed with like getting it right.
Yeah.
But like not in the way that I think our parents were more, I'm right, you're wrong, right? Whereas our generation is like, I really want to get it right. And so rather than always having to get it right, knowing I'm going to make it right, even when I've gotten it wrong. And so that to me is like true, authentic parenting. It's saying, you know what, I'm not going to pretend like what I did was right, but I'm going to make it right.
Right.
And I'm going to show up that way. And yeah, I think accountability is hard for most of us because our parents didn't do that. And I don't think it was anything other than that's what their parents did.
Completely. It just wasn't taught necessarily.
No.
Yeah. Also, something that was hard for me, and we touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious to know more of how you did it, was just like blocking out all the noise and comparing yourself to everybody else out there. Like as you were just speaking about generations, like we're a generation of visibility where we're seeing what everybody's doing at all times. So then we are then comparing ourselves to everybody at all times. Like how... I'm sure this is what obviously was one of the reasons why, you launched this whole idea. But what were some of those steps you took to like really not caring what other people were doing? And like, how do you continue to maintain that?
I know. And I think like to some extent we do care.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give another story. There was a time I was at one of my friend's kids' birthday party, and I can't remember how old my son was, but he's probably like 5. I'm giving all his examples. I swear there's examples for my daughter too. But and he didn't want to leave. And normally the way I would have approached it was, I get it. Like, I understand, right? It's like, you can understand your kid's feelings. You've been there, but you have to like remember to drop down and remember that they have human emotions too.
Completely.
So in that moment, my normal self would have said something like, hey, I get it. You know what? Let's have 5 more minutes. We'd wrap it up and then
Like put on a timer.
Right.
Yeah.
Put on a timer. Well, let's say 5 minutes.
Do you do timers?
I don't.
Oh.
I don't. I think they're older now. But yeah.
I was going to say, we don't really have to anymore, but.
My kids, you know what my kids would do? They would take the timer and like change it and like add time to it. And they'd be like, what do you mean?
Smart for timers.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I can't. Yeah. Like I can't with them. No, but my son, I remember he was like really upset and I could feel the eyes of other people on me. And I don't know what switched for me then, because at that point I was tapped more into myself, right? This is an evolution. Like we're always trying to be more connected.
Completely.
But at that moment I felt everyone looking at me and I changed how I handled it and I hated it. I was like dominant. I'm like, you're not going to get to watch your show if you don't listen to me, because I was embarrassed.
Right. And you were trying to pull out all the stops just to get him to come and like threaten him it was like a projection of your fear of what they thought of you.
It was the biggest ick ever because I feel like he looked at me and he was like, who are you? Like, where did you go?
Yeah.
And that was just this moment where I was like, oh my God, I care more about the big eyes looking down on me than the little eyes looking up at me. And that's what matters most, like how I handled it. Is it easy when your kid's resisting you and they're being annoying? No, it's not. But the moment I realize that what my child is doing isn't personal, that it's developmental, that this is actually what kids are supposed to do, it takes me down a notch. And I'm able to just like meet them where they're at. But again, being honest, like, hey, listen, this is tough. Like, I've asked you to leave, 10 times. We have to go.
Right.
So I think it just comes down to that of like having those awful moments as a parent. And if you can recognize that you didn't like how you handled it, I feel like that's huge.
Completely.
Because then you're like, I'm going to try it differently next time. I don't like how I felt. I don't like how they felt. And it's just like, again, like accumulation of all those little moments. And I really try to take the mess ups as like a reminder that I do know how I want to act and feel. And I don't want embarrassment to let rule my life and
overcome you.
Exactly. And sometimes what I'll say to moms that I work with is like, when that happens, because that's a huge thing, people really feel judged by other mothers, especially if they feel like other mothers have it all together, which nobody does.
I know.
No one
that's
does.
the hard part is that we all in our heads think that people do, but it's just an illusion.
No. It's an illusion. It doesn't exist. But what I like to say to them is like, you know what? Like, call it out. Like, say it out to another mom or to your son. You know what? Like, oh my gosh, you're having such a hard time, like in your own voice or however you say it. Because again, that frees you from this idea that it should be any other way.
Completely.
It's like, why not just call it like it is and be like, this is so hard.
This is so tough. Like, I'm so sorry.
Right.
Like, just be normal about it. Yeah, like, I know. It's all about making other people feel comfortable as well. A lot of this, though, takes a lot of patience, right? Like, it takes a lot of patience. And I think that for a lot of us, we're going and doing. And then when we're with our kids, we're not necessarily in a frame of mind to like have this patience with them or be as like conscious or mindful. So do you have any tips for, like, for me, I know going into hanging out with Sunny, I like have a little bit of a pep talk before going into it.
I want to hear it. Tell me.
Just like today, I'll go pick him up and we have baseball and he'll be there 45 minutes before baseball. It's kind of raining. He's got to get dressed. He'll have a baseball game. Like, I'm just having a pep talk with myself of like how present I want to be during it, because how much these times matter, like how I won't always have these years with him. And so whatever happens on my phone after this or whatever work needs to be done, just having like a little bit of a pep talk with myself of like, you get to do this, go enjoy it and have fun. And I think giving myself that freedom then gives me more patience leading up to dealing with him. So I guess more like that kind of a thing.
I love that. No, of course. I have so many. I'm trying to think of like which one I can think of right now.
Or even just like things that you do to take care of yourself during the day that help you then show up for your kids.
Oh, totally. I mean, I think one thing, and again, I've shared this with the moms that I've worked with, is anchoring yourself with this like one question that will always lead you back to being the mom you want to be, which is, do I have my child's best intention? Wait, did I say that right? Interest.
Yeah.
Do I have my child's best interest at heart?
Yeah.
And the answer is always yes, right? Like, who would say no? And so if you can like anchor yourself, root yourself, ground yourself in knowing that you are always making choices that are best for them, I feel like it lets you show up. You could take a breath. You don't have to feel so stressed about it. And know, again, that like, even if you get it wrong, you're going to make it right.
Right.
And so as far as taking care of yourself. Yes, like I have really leaned into that.
Yeah.
And I think I have this voice sometimes in my head that I feel like I don't fill up every single minute of my day with productivity, that somehow I'm like not doing enough.
No, we need
It's a
to lose
lie.
that mindset. I'm like so not there anymore. I've really given into that. I watched the Kardashians for an hour today at
I
like
feel like
11
I need to get
a.m.
back into them because it's been so long and I see clips and I'm like, I like
It's kind
love.
of fun.
Okay, good.
I mean, it's just fun. I feel like, it's the same thing with reality TV for me. It's just like meditative. But I'm able to admit that because I feel like we need to admit that at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, like, granted, I have the luxury that I'm able to do that. But yeah, I think we need those moments.
Absolutely, because I feel like you have to take care of the person who takes care of everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, then what? Like, we're no good if we're just in this like martyrdom like thing where we're like, oh, I just do everything for them. I'm like, ooh, no, like I don't want to live that way. And I don't. Same. I'll be in carpool and I'll watch Real Housewives. Like I'm great. Like I'm like, what did I miss and how can I watch that?
Yeah, like even that is being productive though.
Yeah.
That's making use of your time. Like you have to be in the carpool line, so you might as well enjoy it.
Exactly. Or listen to a podcast. Like I'll always have something. And I find that like if our kids don't see us having fun and enjoying life, like what are we doing?
Completely.
Right? Like they need to know, like I always think we're giving them the blueprint for like what it is to be human, how to enjoy your life.
Right.
And so even when we make mistakes, if we show them that like, hey, it's normal to make mistakes, we take accountability, we apologize, we try again.
Yeah.
Like how beautiful. And how beautiful that yes, like almost every weekend, I go out on a date with my husband. We have date night. I tell them like it's so important for us to be together.
Yeah.
I go out with my friends. I'll have a drink. I'll do different things that I'm like, yeah, that's me taking care of me.
Yeah, completely.
And I'm so glad that they get to see that so that they know that's how they get to be. And that like their fun stuff, like they have play dates. Well, I don't call them play dates with my husband. I'm like, but we go out.
Yeah,
we have play dates. Like, we go out. We have dinner. We have drinks.
Yeah.
Like it's great.
Yeah, I had to have that conversation with Sonny last week because Timmy and I went away, and he's 7 now, so he really understands that the two of us are away, and he knew that it was my birthday, and he was like, "Why are you choosing to leave me on your birthday?"
Oh, no.
And it was like I had to have this whole talk with him about how it's so important for like your parents to have that strong foundation so that they can be there for you. And I remember my mom always saying that to me. I think I've said that on this podcast before probably 100 times, but she would always say to me like you guys are always 2 before you were 3. Like always make sure that your foundation is strong before like stepping into the home, So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's what she taught you. My parents were the same. My dad passed away too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know. I'm like, we're in that club.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Sucks.
I'm like, don't want to be in the club, but at least like we're in it together. But
completely.
But when, when they were together, like I would see them hug and kiss and they would have vacations. And I'm just glad that was modeled for me. But even if it wasn't modeled for you, like that's what you get to model for your kids.
Right. It's so true.
And I think that's like the big thing about us. It's like we get to choose. Well, actually, I think the biggest thing about motherhood is that you don't realize, like people say it's so hard. You're like, yeah, okay, I get my life's going to change. But you don't realize it's going to change like you as the person. Like you're going to start
cellular, like everything about your insides.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh, like I want to change things about myself, not because I'm like not good enough, but because like I haven't learned this skill yet. Like I don't know how to process my feelings and, not just like give someone the silent treatment. Like I have to like actually talk about it.
Completely.
And so like if we want our kids to be confident, we want our kids to like talk about their feelings, we have to do it. But no one told you that when you had kids. You didn't realize it was like self-development. You just thought you had a cute little baby.
Completely. Or you just feel like you had to model it. And I think the modeling then turns into almost like faking it. And then that's what gets exhausting about parenting, I think, is when you just feel like you have to be doing things a certain way.
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I feel like during COVID, when I started like my whole Instagram thing, there was so much out there about like, this is how you say this to your kids. Don't say that. Say this. And it drove me crazy because I was like, how can I keep all of this like in my head? Like, this is not me, but I like the essence of it. Like, I like the idea. And I'll never forget, I said something. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So Jonah is my son. Ellie's my daughter. And I said to Ellie, I was like, hey, Ellie, because I watched someone, they're like, when your kid's having a hard time, you should tell them, like, name their feeling. And I remember saying to Ellie, she was probably like 6, I was like, you're really sad right now. And she's like, obviously. She's like, why are you telling me that? Can't you see? Like, why are you telling me how I feel? And I was just like, I love it. And that's when I'm like, okay, I am going to live an authentic motherhood.
Completely.
And that is what I want to help every mother do.
Right.
Like,
only you know your child.
That's it.
And how to speak to them.
Exactly. So it's like, let's take all the different things we like, almost like a little like buffet or whatever. And we get to pick and choose what works for us and make it our own. And again, that's like the most freeing things. You don't have to pretend to be anything other than yourself.
Completely.
I love it.
And so like in working with a lot of your moms, I'm sure you find some issues in how co-parenting or parenting styles clash. You know, I think that big time. Yeah. That requires a lot of communication. Right. Timmy and I, we don't do things the same way. I didn't really think that I would be this type of parent, but I'm like super lax, like very, very chill. Do not want to be the disciplinarian, but then obviously don't like when he acts out. So need to be. So Timmy and I have, you know, we've had a lot of conversations about what's best for him and the certain boundaries that need to be set and stuff. But what tips do you have for parents that are feeling like they're just not on the same page right now?
It's so hard. I've worked with parents, mothers, whether they're married or they have a co-parent. And I think the biggest thing is like, how do I get them to see that the way they're doing it isn't right?
Right.
And, you know, the truth is no one really is ever going to like, especially someone you were once married to and no longer married to, let alone the person you are married to. No one wants to hear what it is they're doing wrong.
Right.
We want to hear what it is we're doing right. But that's not what we're going to say in those moments. So instead, I always just say, like, you have to just live by your example. Like, if your husband is so upset that your son isn't responding to him the way he responds to you, all you can say is, well, this is how I do it.
Right.
You know, and it's just like, we can't force anyone. You can't force anyone to go to therapy.
You can't force anyone to change.
You can't change people's emotions. You can't make them do anything. You can't make people see what they don't want to see, but you can be supportive and loving and encouraging and say, well, you know, this works for me if you want to try it.
Completely.
You kind of got to like sell it in a way of like, this is what works for me. Maybe it'll work for you.
Right. And then make it feel like this is very Mel Robbins. Then make it feel like it was their idea.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, right.
Especially with men.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, I love them. But
then they're like, oh my God, did you see that? I did that thing and it worked.
I know.
Yeah,
well, like,
you should try it.
Wait, the other day, my husband was saying something to my son because, you know, he's 11, but he just is.
I'm like, I have no idea about 11-year-olds.
Oh my God. Well, you know what you're saying? It's Sonny.
Yeah.
So like Sonny is like 7. So he's like stepping into that like full blown, like I have my own personality. I have autonomy, but I don't have that much autonomy. And so at 11, he's just like, he's definitely pushing the boundaries. He's like, we're like, you're going to be like an attorney or something because the way you're like selling us on these things. But my husband,
litigation.
Oh my God. I'm it's just like, he really is good at that. But I heard my husband say a line that I say all the time and it just made me so happy. He's like, listen, you can be mad, but you can't be mean. And I was like,
yes,
I love it.
Just
you
like
know?
a little silence.
Yeah, just kind of rubbing off on him a little. And I mean, he's a great dad. You know, we definitely have different styles too. But I think that's also kind of great for our marriage, our kids, because he's doing things his way. I'm doing things my way. And there's things I'm not good at that he's good at.
Right.
But I think for anyone that is upset with how the other parents handling their kids, I think that's really hard. And I think having compassion, like for yourself, that like you can't change that, but that you really can just do what you're doing if you know that's what's best for your child.
Completely.
And hopefully, you know, they'll follow along, but who knows?
Yeah, I know. That's so hard. Okay, I want to talk about your book.
Yay.
So it's so cute. 3 Minutes for Mom, 365 Days of Empowerment, Encouragement, and Growth for a More Connected Motherhood. So when did you start writing this? I love these kinds of books.
Oh, I'm glad.
I love them. It's like the kind of book when you're sitting on the couch and you just want to open up a page and just have like a quick moment to just take something in, you know? So, okay, what inspired this and when did you start writing it?
I mean, I wrote this, I think it was quickly. I feel like I did it in about 5 months. But my idea behind this was that like, I wanted to wake up in the morning. Like, you know, you wake up and if you check your phone, it's like the moment you open your phone, you're letting so much influence into your mind, like that you're not even really, I mean, even if you're just scrolling, it's just like, oh my gosh, you're taking in like what someone looks like and maybe you wish you looked that way or that they're doing something or they're on a trip.
You're like just immediately living somebody else's life.
I don't like it.
As soon as you wake up.
No, and I saw somewhere that's like, it's like inviting like 300 people into your home in the morning before you had your coffee. I'm like, absolutely no, thank you.
No.
And so my idea behind this was like, if you had it on your nightstand or like whatever, download it on the audiobook, like you could just take 3 minutes to ground yourself. And again, this is not a book of like advice of how to be a good parent. This is all about tapping into all the good stuff you already have and letting that compound over time each day so that you start to feel your authentic self. And so my husband says like the first couple pages are like empowering and encouraging. And then like, I think it's like page 7, it's like, boom. And here's something you should think about with your emotions. So there's just so much in there. Like I've put in all the things that have worked for me and my family, things that haven't worked for me and my family. It's really about helping moms just feel grounded and being their authentic self so they can just live that life that they want.
I love that. I think that we need these kinds of daily reminders and they're so simple. And I think it's so important first thing in the morning because your brain is the most impressionable. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I feel like it is. Like you're setting the tone for your day. And this is just so great. So day 7 is you don't have to say I'm fine.
Oh yeah. I noticed that one. I was just like, oh, I'm fine. And I'm like, what do I mean when I'm fine?
Right.
Like I'm definitely not good.
Definitely not fine.
Or I'm definitely not okay.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to, or I don't want to talk about how I'm feeling.
My husband would always make fun of like, he's like, I'm fine. I'm fine.
No. We're never fine.
No.
Fine's not like a feeling.
But I love that. I love that. I am versus I feel. This is so
They're
amazing.
just, you know what? They're little nuggets because I found like, listen, during COVID, we all had time to read, take courses. I don't. Like, I don't sit and meditate every day. I don't journal every day. I live a conscious-ish life, but in my own way. And I think that most moms are that way and that they want that. So if you can just take a couple of minutes to get yourself like re-grounded, you're going to have a much better day. And you're going to remember that like it's all in here.
Right.
All that noise, like if you go back to that, like I have my child's best interest at heart. Okay. Like start from there.
Right. And lead with love and lead with confidence. And I think these little gentle reminders help us to get there completely.
And you said confidence because I think confidence as a mom is really not, I have all the answers.
Right.
Confidence as a mom is like, I know that I will have those answers. I'll get them. I'll talk to the other parent. I will sit and think about it. And I just think that's like the real confidence is knowing that we will get there even when we don't know it right now.
Right. And that like everything may be a phase, but that while we're in that phase, like we're going to figure it out. Like we're going to do the best that we can to figure it out for our child.
Trying.
Yeah.
Trying.
Yes. Okay. Just some fun, quick questions to end with.
Fun questions.
Okay. So what was your first job ever?
Oh my gosh. I was a hostess at Buca de Beppo.
Stop.
Do you know that restaurant?
Duh,
A chain?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was the hostess.
Garlic nuts.
I know.
Yeah.
And I would give a tour of the kitchen.
Stop.
But like the people that told me how to do it just made everything up. So I was just giving a fake tour. So if you were there, you know, in the 2000s in Davie, Florida.
Was that like a prank that the staff was playing on you?
Probably, but I carried on. I'm like, this is that, this is this.
Stop.
And I did that. And then I think for that full year, my car smelled like garlic.
I'm
like
sure.
the whole way. So that was fun in high school. That was my first job.
Wait, was Buca de Beppo, you said you're a Real Housewives person.
Yeah.
Was Buca de Beppo the chain that Dorit did like the Capri room
Yeah,
with?
I can't.
Die.
Good for her. You know, she just keeps trying stuff.
I love Dorit.
I know, of course.
I'm rooting for
this
you,
and
Dorit.
I'm not caught up yet, but this season is
I'm not either.
Good.
I know. And I feel like she's going to come out on top. I hope so. Okay. What's the first thing you do when you wake up?
The first thing I do when I wake up is probably hit snooze.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I do that. No, but then I'll wash my face and get my coffee.
But you actually have an alarm. Like your kids aren't waking you up.
No.
Or there's not a dog. Like you have an alarm.
I have an alarm because, you know, when your kids get older, they actually sleep in.
Yeah, I can't wait
like
for that.
always tell everybody that. I'm like, listen, one day you're going to have coffee and quiet. And it's great.
Right.
Like
it's starting to get there. Like Sunny slept till 7:45 this morning,
Bless
which
his
was
heart.
amazing.
But then so when that first starts to happen though, you get a little nervous. You're like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are they
like,
alive?
Are you alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, you know, when you have a tween, they'll sleep till
like noon. I
it's
remember
wild.
my sister used to sleep in till like 1:00 on Saturdays. I was never that kind of person. Like I've always been an early riser. But yeah, it was so funny. And my mom was the mom that would if you needed to sleep, you slept. And like Paige would have friends that would come over to sleep over because their moms would always wake them up in the morning.
That's
weird.
great. Yeah. That's so great though.
Okay, what do you like to do to relax, or like what's your favorite way to spend a day or a few hours off?
Well, I'm gonna massage. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I want a massage. Like, I feel like it should be required for us as moms. Like, we need a massage every week.
Like it should be, our insurance should cover it.
100%.
Yeah.
But I'm obsessed with showers. Like,
Interesting.
I take 2 showers a day. I know it's crazy. Probably shouldn't. Someone's going to tell me that it's like, you shouldn't do that. But I don't care.
No.
I love my shower. I love the warm water. I love being alone.
I feel
You know?
the exact same. At nighttime when everything is quiet and clean and sunny's down and I can be in the shower, I will take a really long shower.
I just love a shower. And I've been doing the weighted vest walks.
Ooh,
I hopped on that train.
Interesting.
And I love it.
Interesting.
I love it.
Do you break a sweat?
I do.
Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, I'm in Florida, so it's hot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually gorgeous right now, but it's like
I
we're
bet.
about to enter like
Heat
the point
and
of-
humidity like
yeah.
crazy.
terrible.
Where are you originally from?
Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you meet your husband in college?
So we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I was in Fort Lauderdale. I went to undergrad in Orlando. And then I went to grad school in New York, and we kind of just like went together. So I actually met him at a bar.
Amazing.
He was like a partier. I was not. I was like studying and like working in a research lab. Very cool. And he was like, "Let me buy you a drink. Let me get you a shot." And I was like, "No, I'm here to pick up my roommates." Like I was like the designated driver.
Uh-huh.
And he was pretty persistent. And then he like finally asked me out on a date to dinner, which no one does that in college, in Florida at least. Like no one was taking anyone to dinner.
Right.
They're like, "Want to hang out?"
Completely.
And so I was like, "Oh my God, I love him." He was like really cool. And he bought a bottle of wine
Stop.
when we were like, I know. So we did that. And
he
then,
must have really liked you.
I mean, he's smart,
Yeah. Mature.
But then he was, taking a job in New York, and I was applying to grad schools, and it ended up that like we went up there and
And did it together.
It's been great.
Ugh, amazing. Okay, describe your safe space.
My safe space. I really love my car.
Yeah.
And like that's like kind of where I started making my videos, only because it's quiet and no one was like around me. It was like so loud. But there's something about my car that I just feel is like, it's like my mobile office.
Completely. It's like a little bubble. I mean, mine is so disgusting right now. And if it were cleaner, mine would be my safe space too. But I agree with you. Like, I'll even pull up to my house and just kind of like get my shit together, get myself centered and sit in my car for a little before going in, or like listen to a song or whatever I need to do. Just like have my Zen moment in my car before going in.
Same.
I know.
Same.
Blessed. Okay. Advice for when you're stuck in a negative self-talk spiral and criticizing yourself as a mom.
Oh, I hate that.
I know.
And like, we definitely get there.
Right.
I think I have always said, first, like, have your little pity party for a second.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead.
Yeah.
But then moving to a place of compassion for yourself. But I know that that's very difficult. Like, if you sit and say, am I compassionate for myself? Most moms will say like, no, like I have it for others. And so instead of trying to use that word compassion or force it, I like to say, I understand. It's a better way of saying, I understand why I feel this way. Like, I understand why I feel defeated, or I understand why I feel like I'm not a good mom in this moment because X, Y, and Z happened. And if you slowly move from understanding to a little compassion, there's always a reason why.
Right.
No one wakes up and says like, I want to have a terrible day. We wake up, we want to feel good, do good, and be good, just like our kids.
Right.
And when we aren't, there's a reason for it, right? We either need support, we need a skill, we need like love. And so when you can tap into like, what is it that I actually need that's making me feel this way? I find that really helps me. I mean, obviously I like call my mom and my best friends, and vent to them about it.
Yeah.
But those are my people that will listen to me, but then they'll also be like, yeah, but Erin, X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Like, they're not gonna like,
they can't tell you what to do.
Right.
You are the one that has to really connect deeply with your feelings and figure out how to heal them. No one else can do that for you.
No.
Of course, venting is
Always
helpful, but we're the ones that have to do the work. And that
True.
comes all the way back to accountability and like realizing that we have to.
And it's so funny because we say venting, but I feel like when moms are venting, they're just sharing their truth.
Yeah.
Like, why do we say it's negative?
I know venting does have a little bit of a negative connotation. Like, I need to get something bad off my chest.
Yeah,
or I feel guilty about that. Or I need to talk shit. Or I need to yeah, you're right. Like, I'm
just sharing my truth. But you know what the cool thing is like, since I've kind of like been doing all this and even like, videos, my mom, my closest friends, my husband, without me saying it, they've all sought out other like therapists, conscious parenting coaches. They'll watch stuff and be like, I wish I knew. My mom will say like, I wish I knew this like when I was your mom. Like, thank you for, sharing that. And again, it's not because like I have all the answers. It's just because I'm like, wait, there's a reason for why we do things the way we do. And then we can actually change doing small little things. And so that's kind of like back to your question about like, what if your partner or your husband doesn't parent the same way you do?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the more connected you get to yourself, like and authentic, there's just like this energy I think people want to, because you could see someone that has everything. Maybe they're really rich or wealthy or beautiful, but usually what you're attracted to is like their energy, but it's like, I know who I am and I'm okay with who I am.
Right. Like, their energy is coming from their confidence within themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. I know. And I want to exude that. I want to be that person.
I feel like you have that. To me, like sitting here, I feel like you know yourself. Like,
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I really do feel that. Like I'm getting there. And it's cheesy. Everyone talks about like 40 and you start to.
I know. That's me next year.
That's you next year.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
See, so like that's when I really have felt like I've started to wake up and be really conscious of this and how like I am the master of my own destiny, like completely in all regards.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
I mean, because like even what you had said, like sometimes we're like, oh, I'm this way, I'm that way, I'm lazy, or I'm not a morning person. It's like, well, we can own that,
right?
Like, yeah, like I do best in the afternoon. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, why am there? Like I'm just so over trying to be someone else and apologize for things. Like I'm just happy knowing myself more and trusting myself more and. That's something that's accessible to everybody. Like every mom can get there and it's not about adding more.
Completely.
It's taking it away. It's almost like a sculpture. You don't add stuff to make it beautiful. You chip away at it.
Right.
And all of that is already there. It's like you're the beautiful thing.
Right.
It's already there. You just have to get rid of all that stuff that like the world has told us we need to be.
It's really what's freeing about your messaging is that it's not about everything that you need to learn or do or have or be. It's really about like scaling it back and tuning into who you really are, which is everything. All right. I have two more questions. One is what has been your most popular video online?
I feel like recently the popular one was, oh gosh, I think it was the one that said, we get really upset with our children because we take everything they do personally. Like we feel like my kid's not listening to me because they don't respect me. My kid's not listening to me because they don't appreciate anything I do. It's like, no, that's not what it is. Your kid is just being a kid. Like it is a child's job to test boundaries. It's a parent's job to hold them. And I just have to say that to myself like daily because when I remember that, I'm like, oh, this is developmental. It's not personal. And that one's really done well.
Yeah, I bet. And it's also about not always a reflection on you as a parent either. Like it can be, and you have to be aware of that. Like we said, being accountable is very important. But also for me, it's sometimes like some of my kids' behavior that's like totally normal is not always a reflection of just like how I'm parenting. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
I think you're so right. And I think we're just like taught that our kids are like these little resumes, like that are just like, oh, it's all from you. You know, like,
yes.
Like we're so quick to like, oh, my child's on the honor roll or they're on this sports team and they won. But like, we don't talk about like, hey, I like successfully navigated this like tantrum and I didn't lose my, shit. Like I'm actually like, that's the kind of stuff I feel like we do as parents that no one sees that we really need the pat on the back for.
Completely.
But I think the more we can recognize that it's not personal really deactivates us because what happens when you take something personal? You react, you're defensive, you're angry, you say things you don't want to say in your marriage too, by the way.
Completely. But that's a big thing for me. Like I'm super sensitive and I take everything personally. So that's like a trigger.
But like when you think about it, do you say, what's your husband's name?
Timmy.
Timmy? Right. Yeah. Okay, Timmy. Like when you're saying something to Timmy, you're upset with him, you're not saying things because of his feelings. You're saying things because of your feelings.
Completely.
So it's not personal to him. It's personal to you.
Right.
And so I think if we just show up a little bit more like that, like, it's not personal. It's developmental. Like you can be funny with it too. It's like, it's just so like, I have to say these things to myself all the time.
Right.
And when I do, I'm like, ugh, like eye roll. It's such a kid thing.
Completely. Like just another phase, just another thing that we're going to conquer. And like, it's our job to teach them like how to get out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's like
completely.
we're like the best models for them. It's like, hey, this is what it's like to be human. Like, you're not perfect, but you
Completely.
can say you're sorry, take accountability, and try again.
Completely.
You know?
This has been so great.
I know.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, you can find me on Instagram. It's the Conscious Mom. So I post videos there all the time. Again, I'll be in my car probably. And
I
they're
love
just
that.
casual. It's basically videos, either what's going on in my life, my friend's life, or my client's life. Of course, I don't like share their information,
Completely.
but that's where it is. And then the books are wherever books are sold.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Amazon,
amazing.
Barnes and Noble. It's gonna be in stores and some Barnes and Noble, which is so cool.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Are you doing like a book tour or anything?
Yeah.
I mean, you're like
Yeah.
doing press
Hi.
and stuff, but hi, I'm like, you're
here.
here.
I'm here. Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna do some fun things, and it's gonna be very, again, like relaxed.
Yes.
Very 3 minutes. Like, I think I'm gonna do like stop by for 3 minutes for coffee.
Oh,
Kind of
cute.
that sort of thing.
I like that.
I know. Yeah.
No pressure,
And it's-
easy activations.
Right.
And
And,
like
like-
connect with people in a quick way. Yeah.
No, exactly. And it's like you can do what you're doing, like flipping through, or you can do, like a page a day.
Completely.
I love that I did the Audible. That was really fun because I love listening.
Same.
Like, I'm in
I
my
listen to all
car
my books in my
all
car.
the time, more than I want to be, even though it's my safe space.
It's-
I like to be in my car, not driving. That's
or
it.
like driving to do things that you want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like going to my massage.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Not
doing.
like chauffeuring around all day.
Oh my gosh, we are
Yeah.
Uber drivers. Is what we are. Yeah.
I know, but I'm like, I'm lucky. I'm like thinking about that.
I love
and
that
like
you said that.
rephrasing it too, because I'm like, it can be a lot, but like we get to.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
I know, this is so
excited
fun.
to have you.